It's Mondo, and he rates. Mondo rates. Mondo
For the purpose of this record,
rates.
wide range of
Mondo
frequencies.
rates. Mondo rates. Mondo rates. Mondo rates. Hello everyone to Mondo rates.
It is once again Mondo on for another glorious episode of Mondo Rates. This is episode number 2. Tonight I have a very special guest. He is currently the youngest member of J360, the very talented up-and-coming Zack. Welcome, Zack.
Hello, internet people, and hello, Mondo.
It's good to see you. I'm glad you could make it.
I'm glad to be here.
Tonight we'll be discussing and rating PCs versus Mac. Macs tend to be more designed as workstations, while PCs tend to be more designed as entertainment stations. They can be workstations, but mostly entertainment. Some of the programs used on the Mac for more professional purposes are things like Final Cut, Motion 5, things of that. The only thing Windows ever really has that's solely for Windows tends to be Windows Movie Maker, which isn't a bad system. Windows Movie Maker tends to be, fairly easy to navigate and use. It's a good intro to editing.
Yep.
Final Cut is a bit more in-depth and it's fairly good for, what it does. But now we get to the nitty-gritty of it. Why, in my opinion, PC is better than Mac. Zack may have a very different opinion. I don't know. We will find out.
Oh, we'll see.
There's the main point between a PC and a Mac, in my opinion, is price.
Yes.
Macs tend to be a fair deal more expensive than a PC.
Yes, they do.
But in terms of what you're getting out of your Mac, I can get the same thing costing less money from a PC.
Yep. Yeah, you can. One point is that Mac usually tends to do aluminum bodies and stuff like that. They try to give you everything that you want and could need in your Mac system just to be able to not have to do the change outs and change different attachments and stuff like that, like graphics cards and stuff.
So the customizations.
Yeah, they don't want you to be able to customize your system. They want to be able to give it to you. They've always had that point. And
so package with a bow on top is what right. Apple shoots for.
That's right.
That's not what they always deliver, though.
That's not true. It's not true. They do deliver on that sometimes, but for a specific consumer.
True. For a specific consumer, Apple does great things.
Yes.
But for the general consumer, where price is... Granted, Apple's giving you a lot of cool stuff, like an aluminum case, a glass screen.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about a lot of glare on a Mac screen. I understand that. But PC gives you everything you need at almost half the price point.
You're right.
Which, in the current economy, makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically luxury car versus everyday usable car.
Right.
While the luxury is great to have, there's also the problem of maintenance.
Yeah.
Whenever something goes wrong on a Mac, which you never know when things go wrong. Nothing's perfect, nothing's infallible.
That's right.
So things can go wrong with your Mac. You could have a battery that dies, because I believe a Mac battery dies in about 3 years?
Yeah.
Depending on how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
So about 3 years. And then to get that new battery, you have to go to a certified Apple dealer.
Yes.
And get them to service your Apple. The same thing if you want to customize your current Apple and upgrade it to better graphics card or such things, you have to take it to a certified Apple dealer or else you void your warranty on your product.
Yeah.
With a PC, you don't have to worry about that. You can go to a site like newegg.com, just as an example, get the parts you want to upgrade, really cheap.
Yeah, he's
Get
right.
them, open up your PC, take out the old parts, put in the new parts, and voila, you're up and running. With no real wait time, because all the time it takes is for you to install it. Versus going to a certified Apple dealership where you have to drop off your product maybe for a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure the exact time frame. It depends on what you're doing. And then wait and wait. Well, in the meantime, you have no device to use. Unless you have another device that you're using as your backup.
Mm-hmm. And those also go hand in hand with if you want to customize your system, your PC, for better use of like maybe doing gaming, or you're probably doing film development or something like that. Your PC comes in hand because you have that customizability. I don't know if that's a word, but we're gonna put it in the dictionary right now.
Yeah, customizability, that works fine for me.
Yep.
Because you can tailor fit your PC. Like, I custom made a gaming PC. I spent about $1,000, in all fairness, between buying the case, all the components. I assembled it myself, and that was a few years ago. And it still runs, because I got some pretty good components for it. It still runs like some of the computers that are being put out right now. I could easily go to like Best Buy or a site like Newegg.com if I don't mind waiting for the parts to ship.
Right.
Get it all for a couple $100 and upgrade the different pieces I want. I had a friend who just upgraded his PC with a liquid cooler, a brand new motherboard, a terabyte hard drive.
Oh my.
But it was like a slimline terabyte hard drive that uploads a crap ton faster and processes faster. His new computer processes, let's just put it this way, it was able to copy 3 gigs of data in about 30 seconds.
Jeez Louise. And see, that definitely tips a scale when we're talking about the build quality in terms of price. That tips the scale for PC because you can customize anything you want on that thing.
Yeah.
It's power, man.
Yeah.
You're building power.
Yeah.
You're buying a system that may have started out small and you're making it into this big, big Jenga tower that if you put certain pieces in, it'll never knock down.
Yeah.
You're building power and you're buying power.
Yeah. I mean, like, let's just use this as an example. A cheap Mac is maybe what? $1,000, $2,000?
Yeah.
About that? Alright, and that'll come with generally what? Like 500? Like, let's just go basic Mac.
Like 500 gigs.
Yeah. Like, what? 4 or 5 gigs of RAM?
Mm-hmm.
4 or 6 gigs of RAM. Right. With $1,000 now, you can get a terabyte hard drive. You can get about 8 gigs of RAM, a pretty good graphics card and motherboard, all on a PC, and you can get a case that costs maybe $200.
Right.
So you're getting something that vastly outperforms a Mac for the same price.
Exactly. And you can test that out, viewers. You can test it out.
You can easily look at how much a Mac will cost you. Just find a Mac that you like, that you think is a really good Mac. Then find all the parts to build a PC that has equal specs to that Mac. Yeah. And I'm almost willing to guarantee it's going to be maybe half of what the Mac costs. One thing that Macs always like to boast, especially in their commercials, is that they will never get a virus. And this is mostly true, not completely true. It's not that Macs can't get a virus. It's that the coding of a Mac OS is really complicated, far more so than any PC's OS, which is also one of the reasons it becomes more expensive, which makes it a great deal harder to code viruses capable of penetrating a Mac OS. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't hackers out there that will code a virus to get through a Mac. Now, viruses always tend to be worse on the Mac, because whoever spends that much time to code to get into a Mac OS is gonna make damn sure that that virus is seriously gonna mess up your stuff.
These people have done their homework.
Yeah, because it's no simple task. I've known individuals that do app games and whatnot for the various devices and whatnot. They have told me that they hate writing things for Apple OS simply because how complicated it is, and they have to go through all this, and then there's a crap ton of security checks their codes have to go through before they even are allowed to post it to iTunes. Which iTunes in itself is a giant monster. Just because I'm fairly certain iTunes requires you to have some type of payment information on record for you to even be able to use iTunes or to even look at it. Am I right in that?
It's true.
And most things on iTunes, if I remember correctly, are not free.
If they're free, now, certain people may disagree, but if they're free, it's garbage. As easily said, I will say it. If it's free, it's most likely garbage.
So yes, a PC is more likely to get a virus, simply because they're easier to code viruses for. But that's why they make a crap ton of antivirus software.
Oh yeah.
That you can get at a decent price.
You can get them for free even.
Yeah, like a lot of online like internet providers, like I know Comcast gives, I believe, Norton free.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they give the Norton antivirus package free to their subscribers. So, you know, you have antivirus protection available for nothing, depending on your different service providers. But you can get antivirus relatively cheap and, you know, affordable, and it works just as well to keep out viruses and such.
Or from the pirate bay.
Yes. If you want to go that way, you can. We do not condone that at J360.
No, we don't.
Even though we're talking about PCs, we have to mention the apps on iOS. And the only thing counter that, I believe there's a Windows Store for Windows phones.
Yes, Windows Store, and then they have the Play Store for Android.
Yeah, they have Google Play for Android. And in those stores, most of the apps are free. There are pay apps, but a lot of times any pay app you can find a free version of that pay app.
Yeah.
And it works just as well as the pay app. You know, except, you know, it's free. Because it's a lot easier to code for Windows and for Android systems than it is for iOS. iTunes is a little bit more complicated to use, I should say.
Yes, it is. It is.
Just because they don't really differentiate a lot of stuff, do they?
It's
generally all together.
Most of it is together. They've got, I believe they got a top games and then a top free, but they don't really specify. They do tend to make stuff a little bit harder for the iTunes and Apple users. I kind of don't understand that with how much customizability. There's that word again.
Yeah.
That you have with the PC. They can do so much customizing to their systems and stuff, but you can't customize your Apple, which seems a little bit counterintuitive because how is it going to be harder to use, but that system is easier to customize?
Yeah.
Kind of doesn't make sense, fellas.
Ease of use on Apple systems tends to be really complicated for most of the functions. I mean, even on a MacBook, you know, some of the functions on a MacBook are, if you don't, like, know a MacBook, like, say you just got a MacBook and you would use PCs, like, because that's another point I like to bring up. Most places you go and in most schools, you won't see a Mac. Most businesses use PCs. PCs are easier to use. Yeah. And they're a lot cheaper for the school to afford. Apple does kind of dominate mobile devices, though. I think we've covered a lot of the pros and cons of Mac and PC. Like we said, we're not dissing Mac, we're not dissing PC, we're not praising one over the other. We're saying that each has their pros and cons. Each one of us probably prefers a different side, or maybe even the same side, but we're about to find that out right now, because it's come time in the show where we actually give the rating, thus Mondo rates. So I will give my rating first. So I rate PC on my scale of 1 to 10, 1 being crap, 10 being as near perfect or as good as it gets, a solid 9 in terms of price and performance and customizability. I rate Mac as a solid, good work computer as a 5.5. Zach, would you give us your ratings of PC and Mac?
Okay, so a PC is maybe a 7.5. Now Mac, 1 being the worst and 10 being the greatest, I give Mac a 6.5.
So, we both agree that Mac is a decent system for what it does, and that PC is slightly better than Mac for varying reasons. But you see here a general consensus that Mac's a good system, but PC is generally better. Generally, not always better, but generally. I would like to thank my guest Zack today for coming out and having this discussion with me. This is our first Mondo Rates Versus episode, where we discuss the twin topics, and I think it went quite well. Tune in again next week for another episode of Mondo Rates. This is Mondo signing off. Night, folks.
It's Mondo, and he rates. Mondo rates.
Mondo Rates.